groundbreaking ceremony for a new factory.
Did she mention seeing anyone who was sick? Anyone on a plane at the airport?
No, she said she was jet lagged.
The average person touches...
one-touch transmission, said the trailer there. It is Contagion. That's the film we're looking at with Lena Lamont for the film review this morning. Good morning to you, Lena.
Good morning, Wammo.
Contagion. Well, this looks all right. It's not
does.
Outbreak, though, is it?
It's not Outbreak. And maybe that's what makes it potentially scarier, because do you know what a fomite is?
No.
A fomite is an inanimate object capable of spreading infection. And this film is all about fomites. This is basically about, I want to say, a virus. I guess it's kind of like a virus that basically spreads the planet, spreads through the planet, rather, and you can basically get sick from touching somebody who is sick, let alone them coughing on you or whatever, right?
But it's not airborne.
Yes, it is airborne. Well, no, okay. Oh, God, no, don't ask me the science on this, because I suppose if it was airborne, every single person in it. No, it's to do with contact.
Because that was the moment in Outbreak. It's gone airborne.
Well, that's true. That's true. I remember Outbreak being really frightening, so
was the monkey.
It was, and luckily there are no monkeys in this, except incidentally, except as in probably this came about because of a monkey somewhere.
Oh,
This film starts off, it's all about human beings, right? You've got Gwyneth Paltrow. She's a businesswoman returning from a trip to Hong Kong. And within moments of returning to Chicago, where she lives with her very solid, lovely husband, Matt Damon, she falls very, very ill. Everyone just assumes jet lag, cold, kind of just a bit kind of flu-y, run down. But she gets very, very, very run down very, 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 very quickly. Meanwhile, people in Taiwan, in other parts of Chicago, in China, and various places around the world are falling sick and, unbeknownst to anybody, of course, infecting other people who are on the bus next to them or whatever. So we get lots of shots of very, very sweaty people feeling really sick and kind of coughing. Now, of course, we've just come through a winter where every second person that you see looks a little bit sweaty and coughy, right? And we don't have that kind of instilled terror of, oh my goodness, you might think, oh, don't cough on me, bus person, because I might get a cold.
Yeah.
But, that's as far as it goes. This is altogether way more deadlier. And so... Then Lawrence Fishburne, good old Lawrence Fishburne from The Matrix, is back. He's put on a little bit of weight, but I suppose, haven't we all in older age? He and Kate Winslet, who is an epidemic intelligence service officer.
Oh, yes.
She's really good in this. She's very good at playing an American as well, Kate Winslet. I've got a lot of time for Kate.
So far sounds like a formula, Outbreak, and then they've got to call in the army or something, and they've got to contain it.
But you can't call in the army for this and contain it. I guess you're right. Of course, it's formulaic. But this story has various strands to it. So you've got your medical people, you've got your civilians who are falling sick, and all the tiny repercussions. But I suppose what makes this somewhat interesting is that the tiny repercussions become big repercussions, because if you're the guy who happened to be on the bus next to Sweaty Coffee Man, who then fell off the bus and died, then you go home. We, the audience, go, oh my gosh, he's probably going to get sick. He doesn't know it until he turns up sick. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So people are dying at an enormous speed, and I think the body count gets up to something like 2.5 million. Hang on, million? Billion? How many people in the world?
Billions. 7 billion.
Okay, it might even get as far as like 2 billion people dead. That seems a little high.
Well, in the trailer I'm seeing, like deserted streets and stuff,
right.
So it's almost got that zombie feel to it.
Exactly.
As well.
And I think what was interesting about this film is, you can watch these zombie apocalypse movies and aliens come down and decimate the planet and all that, whereas this is actually kind of realistic. Because it could happen. I suppose that's the premise, right? It could happen. I likened this immediately to A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, I know that A Nightmare on Elm Street is a fiction film about a guy with scissors on, with knives on his fingers.
But comes to you in your dreams.
But the point is that if you fall asleep, the whole premise of Nightmare on Elm Street is if you fall asleep, you're immediately vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that was something that was able to sort of infect the viewer. No, even though you knew it was a movie, you couldn't help but think, oh my gosh, what if? And you can't avoid falling asleep. So I suppose
it's like the saying Beetlejuice 3 times.
Or saying Candyman 5 times or whatever, that kind of thing, right? So you have to be so careful nowadays, don't you? There's so much that we just can't do anymore. But the whole point of this is it could happen.
Yeah.
And who's to know that next time you're next to Sweaty Coffee Man on the bus, that he hasn't just received this developing virus that is going to kill you all.
Contagion.
Right. And I lived in London for a time, right? And it's all about public transport, the tube, the buses and everything. And I, presumably with a mild case of obsessive compulsive disorder, I didn't like touching the stairwells in the underground and the handrails in the tube and all that sort of thing. So I would do a lot of tube surfing.
Right.
So this film really resonated with me because I would be thinking, well, I wouldn't be touching that handrail in that bus anyway.
Have you got the hand sanitizer in your handbag?
I
there?
did. Well, I did wonder whether. I mean, I'm not that bad now. I've been working on it, but I did wonder whether this would increase sales of hand sanitizer.
Touch everything with a moist towelette.
Exactly. But can I just say, the important thing about this film is it has a fantastic cast. Gwyneth Paltrow, Matt Damon, Kate Winslet, Lawrence Fishburne, Jennifer Ely, Jude Law.
Oh, yeah, but only a bitty part.
Unfortunately, his part is not bitty enough. He has
Are
an
you- you're not a
Australian...
fan?
Well, I like Jude as a rule, but I prefer it when he doesn't try and talk like an Australian.
Oh.
So
it does filter out of the States. Not
Oh my
all-
gosh, it's the whole world.
Oh, New Zealand?
Well, let's be honest. Do they even know New Zealand
nothing's
exists? Of
happening
course
here.
not.
No
when
contagion in New
No,
Zealand.
exactly. When you have the global map and the little red dots where it shows where the
It's a
infection
blank spot, right?
Like totally,
Yeah.
there isn't even in New Zealand.
What is it? Yeah.
But Jude Law plays this blogger. He's a conspiracy blogger who feels that the government must know more and they must presumably have a vaccination or a cure. And that they're not letting it out, and so his strand of the story is a little bit
This is
lame-o.
Bomber Bradbury. It's his...
Well, I wouldn't say that Bomber is lame-o, but
No, I'm
but
just
yeah,
in
that in the
blogger.
spirit of
Yeah.
exactly in the spirit of that kind of thing. Jude is lame-o in this,
Yeah.
but the other performers are good, and most importantly, I suppose Steven Soderbergh is the director of this film. And Steven Soderbergh did all the Ocean's film, Out of Sight, way back in the day, Traffic, most importantly to me, and this is very much like Traffic. Multiple strands. Beautifully shot, very atmospheric. Somehow it's not as ominous and scary and horrible as it ought to be, but it's fascinating, and I think it's a very worthwhile watch.
Contagion was a film we've just been looking at. Lena Lamont's film reviews are up at the Sunday Star Times every Sunday, of course, and lenalamont.wordpress.com. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Everyone who serviced this room. It's an emergency.
You can't panic now.
I know.
I'm gonna get you home.
I got people too, Dr. Cheever. We all do.
Don't talk to anyone. Don't touch anyone. Stay away from other people.
Get back in your car. We're not sick.
It's figuring us out faster than we're figuring it out.
It's mutated.